Vince McMahon created the WWE and then created one of the best characters in the history of television. Not Hulk Hogan, who was game-changing for the entire industry. Not Stone Cold Steve Austin, who made wrestling cool for adults. Not even The Rock, who we wrestling fans knew was a superstar way before Hollywood did. The best character Vince McMahon ever created was Vince McMahon, and he was absolutely insane. Here are the craziest Vince McMahon moments, starting with beating the out of his daughter, No Mercy 2003. I mean, this sums up the character perfectly right here. Vince booked himself into a feud and match with his own daughter. The basis of the feud was Vince was pissed that Stephanie signed his WrestleMania 19 opponent, Hulk Hogan, to a SmackDown contract. Stephanie was pissed that Vince was having an affair with Sable. In the match itself, Sable was there to look pretty, and Linda McMahon was there at ringside for Vince to berate. So he tossed his daughter around the ring, screamed at his wife at ringside, choked Stephanie with a lead pipe to win the match, and then got a little sugar from Sable at the end. Father of the Year 2003. The infamous Stacy Keibler lap dance. Everyone knows this clip because everyone has seen this meme. It's honestly one of the best memes on the internet, and it makes me burst out laughing regardless of its context. In the storylines, Vince needed a new assistant, and this was Stacy applying for the job. As much as we were all watching Stacy at the time, this was Vince at his absolute peak. He easily has the best facial expressions in the history of the business, and he put nearly all of them on display in this segment.
You're hired, Stacy!
Getting a little too comfortable with John Cena.
What's good in the hood?
At Survivor Series 2005, John Cena was heavily entrenched in his hip-hop phase. Vince walked by to give him some encouragement and said,
Keep it up,
"Keep it up, my N-word," except he actually said the word. 50-something billionaire white guy Vince McMahon said it full-blown in order to seem cool to not yet millionaire white guy John Cena. The best part? Booker T and Sharmell were standing right there, and Vince just smiles and struts right past them.
Tell me, he didn't just say that.
St. Valentine's Day Massacre, 1999.
He cannot wait to put his hands on the owner of this company.
We could almost just talk about how this pay-per-view is named after an actual massacre, but let's keep the focus on Vince. The previous month, he won the Royal Rumble. That's right, non-wrestler, non-athlete, but seriously jacked 53-year-old Vince McMahon won the Royal Rumble. Of course, he couldn't go on to main event WrestleMania, that would be ridiculous. So he main evented the pay-per-view before WrestleMania in a steel cage against the company's top star, Stone Cold Steve Austin. To Vince's credit, he goes for it in this match, including one of the best table bumps in cage match history. He doesn't even lose cleanly, as a debuting Big Show tears through the ring and tosses Austin through the cage.
And again into the steals. Look at that.
Vince has a victory over God.
From the kingdom of heaven, please welcome God.
Shawn Michaels had found God in real life. Shawn Michaels was feuding with Vince McMahon in 2006. Vince didn't like any of this, so he had to beat both Michaels and God at the same time. Sure, he had his son Shane to help him, but considering literally God was tagging in HBK's corner, it's enough to show how insane Vince is. After visiting church and berating God in the weeks leading up to this, he had a spotlight shine on the entrance ramp to show God entering the match. Though God never tagged in, Vince pinned HBK, which means as the record stands, Vince McMahon 1, God 0.
Praise be the name of Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
The Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club.
And watch, I can even make my ass do tricks. Watch this.
In the early 2000s, if you pissed off Vince, chances are you'd be invited to join the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. It kicked off with William Regal being forced to join after betraying the WWF. Vince even handed Regal lip balm before the ordeal. This might have been the only voluntary member, as Jim Ross, Shawn Michaels, Shane McMahon, and Mick Foley all had their faces shoved into the boss's backside. The final member was Hornswoggle in 2008, who bit the boss's booty instead.
Hey! Oh, he's fighting! Oh, they're still kissing! He's fighting!
The absolute banger with Hulk Hogan when they were both 100 years old.
Are you looking in the eyes of Satan himself?
I guess they'd have to be 1,000 years old if that were true, but at WrestleMania 19, 57-year-old Vince and 49-year-old Hulk Hogan tore down the house in a brutal street fight. There was blood, chair shots, and even Vince climbing a ladder and delivering a leg drop to Hogan through a table. This match had no right to be as good as it was, and that's not even mentioning the insane build-up, which included breaking the fourth wall and the two of them growling on the mic like only the two of them can. Brother. Making out with Trish Stratus in front of his wife, who was in a wheelchair.
Oh no, my God.
We talked about Sable and Stacy Keibler earlier, but Vince also got his hands on the legendary Trish Stratus. This was a whole angle where Vince wanted to divorce Linda, so she had a nervous breakdown and went into a coma-like state. Vince would regularly make out with Stratus in front of Linda, but he didn't even respect Stratus. This was the storyline where he famously forced her to strip down in the middle of the ring and bark like a dog. People remember that spot as demeaning, but compared to the rest of the storyline, it was probably the classiest part.
Mr. McMahon humiliating, embarrassing his own wife.
Stripping for Tori Wilson. Well, this is it. Vince officially made out with every legendary blonde bombshell of the Attitude Era. As Vince and Tori were desperately trying to find somewhere to do some business backstage, they kept getting interrupted by pesky peeping wrestlers. Finally, they found some privacy in the laundry room, and Tori quickly undressed Vince as he closed his eyes in glee. When Vince turned around and said he had a big surprise for Tori, he opened his eyes to find his wife Linda standing there disapprovingly.
This is not what it looks like.
Austin helps Vince go to the bathroom.
Come on, Steve.
By October of 1998, the Austin McMahon feud was already in high gear. Wanting to up the ante, they had Austin hold McMahon hostage in the center of the ring with a goddamn pistol, a handgun, the one weapon you're almost guaranteed to never see wrestlers utilize. Well, Austin had the gun, and he had McMahon by the balls too. Certain Stone Cold was going to kill him, Vince literally pissed himself when Austin pulled the trigger. Of course, it was a dummy gun with the words "Bang 316" on a flag coming out instead of a bullet. But any excuse to pee yourself on camera, eh, Vince?
McMahon 316 says I just pissed my pants.
Oh no!
Do-rag Vince.
What up, G?
After having his head shaved by Stone Cold, Bobby Lashley, and of all people, Donald Trump, McMahon didn't want to miss out on this new opportunity to piss some people off. So logically, he started wearing a do-rag and adopting some hip-hop culture into his character. He referred to people as his homies and G's, and even added more swagger into his already ridiculous strut. This wasn't enough, so Vince won the ECW world title as well. No one has street credit like a do-rag wearing ECW champion Vince McMahon. Speaking of titles, winning his own world title.
Vince McMahon is the WWF champion!
Vince created the Royal Rumble, so he won the Royal Rumble. Vince resurrected ECW, so he won the ECW world title. But in late 1999, post-Rumble and pre-ECW, he won his own world championship. This was during Triple H's first run as the top villain in the promotion, and he had married Vince's daughter Stephanie against her will. Talk about a move straight out of Vince's playbook. McMahon, a non-wrestler, then managed to defeat his company's top villain in a match on SmackDown and become a one-time holder of the most prestigious title in all of sports entertainment. This was before the brand split and the only world title WWF had at the time. Has his own head shoved up Rikishi's ass. Remember the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club? Well, apparently Vince wasn't happy enough with other wrestlers getting to kiss all the ass, and he wanted in on the action. Not just any ass, mind you, but the ultimate ass. On SmackDown in 2001, Vince thought he was going to get to kiss Trish Stratus's ass, and after this list, why wouldn't he think that?
I am no pervert.
But The Rock stopped him,
You sick freak!
brought out Rikishi, and damn near shoved Vince's entire head up Rikishi's ass. I mean, I would have been happy with a rock bottom and people's elbow, but let's not question the man that created this all. Thank you, Vince, for giving me what you say that I want, which in this case is your head in a man's ass.
Mr. McMahon has joined the Stink Face Club!
That concludes our list of the craziest Vince McMahon moments. Which one did we forget? Let us know in the comments below.